We're producing downtrodden, emasculated, effeminate, cucked, bending the knee men because they are so anxious and depressed and downtrodden.
Breaking right now, anti-white racism in the UK has today become legalized. That is my summation after this extraordinary story where the Chelsea star, the Australian Sam Kerr, has been cleared in court of calling a police officer effing stupid and white because it wasn't considered racist. Now, you just swap white with any other ethnic group and tell me that person would not be behind bars right now? Yeah, right. But this is the breaking story as written by the Daily Mail. Sam Kerr has been cleared of racially aggravated harassment against PC Stephen Lovell at Twickenham Police Station. The 31-year-old Australian football star was filmed drunkenly calling PC Lovell effing stupid and white in the early hours of January the 30th, 2023. The court heard how Kerr and her now fiancé, Christy Mewers, who is also a footballer for West Ham and the USA, believe they had been kidnapped by a taxi driver after a night out culminated in Mewers kicking out the taxi window in a bid to escape the vehicle. The driver reportedly told police that the two footballers had refused to cover the cost of the cleanup and damages. At the police station, Kerr was alleged to have become abusive and insulting towards PC Lovell. So let me bring in UKIP leader Nick Tenconi on this. Nick, can I be very clear? Firstly, I don't want anyone going to court for their language, right? I certainly don't want anyone going to prison for their language. However, if you replaced white with black here, if you replaced white with Asian, or let's be honest, virtually any other minority group, that celebrity would be locked up. Yet anti-white racism is now just accepted in the UK. It's part of life. It's accepted by the judiciary. It's accepted by the authorities. It's accepted by the politicians. This is so wrong, is it not?
Yeah, it's so wrong. And frankly, I quake with rage. We're pledging at UKIP to end racism against whites. We denounce racism. We also denounce racism against white people. Look at the state of it. When we say, which is common on the right, daily you'll hear it, our institutions have been infected. Our institutions have been captured. We're talking about the blob. We're talking about the justice system. We're talking about the police, the CPS, our schools. It is at the church, the synod. Everything is totally captured and anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-masculinity. There's all sorts of different campaigns. Look at this example that you bring up. Imagine if you replace white with black or any other, as you say, any other ethnicity. And it's being taught in our schools, Dan. It's being taught on our university campuses. White guilt, hate yourself. You should be paying reparations. You should feel ashamed. So we're producing downtrodden, emasculated, effeminate, cucked, bending the knee men because they are so anxious and depressed and downtrodden. Now, this is obviously not a high profile case, but obviously it's gained an awful lot of notoriety. It sickens me that in reality, a judge has let this go. And we see the two-tier justice right there, something that Kemi Badenoch doesn't believe exists in Britain. It's absolutely disgusting and it's got to end. It's the weaponization of race. It is divisive, it is corrosive, and it needs to be completely eradicated from Britain.
You know how the hard left view this, Nick, but let me show you and you can respond. So Narinder Kaur, race baiter in chief here in the UK, writes, "This should never have even gone to court. Sam Kerr simply told the truth, a correct observation in calling the cop white." And then this is the key line, Nick. "Part of the white system not known for treating people of colour fairly." Also, Cheryl Cole was cleared of racism after punching a black toilet attendant and calling her a black bitch. Yes, I keep receipts. How would you respond to Narinder?
Well, I've got a rule when I'm training up my candidates, activists, and general rule of thumb in life. If it can't be reasoned with, and if it's a psychopath, it's called the 15-second window. Narinder is a very, very dangerous, very, very unwell human being. She doesn't deserve the time of day. She, as we call it, she grifts. She's a media grifter. She knows that she's going to get away with her and Bushra can go right up to the edge of what is basically completely unacceptable because of their immutable characteristics. They know they can do that. So they play this game. They team up as well. So it's important for your viewers. I'm not going to spend too long on this, but the viewers need to be aware that these agitators are in place to further disenfranchise us, further depress us, make us anxious. The outrage I felt when you I've actually seen that tweet from her, but the outrage I felt, Dan, it's sickening. She is a race baiter. She is not a good person. She is not a virtuous person. She is not a nice human being. She is divisive. She is corrosive. She is utterly toxic. And I'll just bring in one more point because you mentioned about you involve free speech there. We have got to end the freedom of consequence environment that has been brought about. This freedom of consequence environment. Of course, there should be consequences for your actions, but it needs to be sensible, it needs to be common sense, and it needs to be fair. So I would say to your viewers, please make sure that you view individuals like Narinder as very, very unwell people. And you can't argue with psychopaths. Give them 15 seconds. And when it behaves like that, just walk away from it.
But first, attention, all the proud, the bold, and the beautifully bald. It's time to elevate your grooming game with the Manscaped Dome Shaver Plus. Designed for precision, comfort, and a flawless finish, this shaver is the ultimate tool for keeping your dome as smooth as your best pickup lines. Whether you're maintaining a sleek style or embracing the shine with confidence, the Dome Shaver Plus has you covered. So head on over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide, including me, who trust Manscaped. You use the code Outspoken at checkout. You'll receive 20% off your entire order and free shipping. But let me tell you about the Dome Shaver Plus. This is an electric shaver that adapts to your head's contours for a smooth shave without the mess and hassle of traditional shaving. So 4 stainless steel skin-safe rotary blades reduce nicks and cuts to deliver a perfectly bald look without uneven hair patches. Now, if you're buying for your husband, or your boyfriend or your brother or your son, this is perfect because it has flex adjust technology, meaning that every blade stays perfectly close to his scalp for a precise finish. And the powerful 8,000 RPM motor delivers effortless shaving performance with less strokes and irritation. Plus, a long-lasting rechargeable battery has up to 60 minutes of runtime. When a charge is needed, you can save time with the 10-minute quick change option. Because the Dome Shaver Plus is waterproof, you can enjoy wet or dry operation too. And the Dome Shaver Plus is ergonomically designed to fit comfortably into your hand and effortlessly navigate every curve of your scalp. With a magnetic blade pad and hair chamber, cleanup is a breeze, making sure your Dome Shaver Plus stays fresh and ready to deliver a smooth shave every time you need it. Grab the Dome Shaver Plus by the handle or palm the blade pad and glide it across your head like you're sweeping away last year's regrets. So go to manscaped.com using the code Outspoken for free shipping and a whopping 20% discount on your entire order. Get the Dome Shaver Plus today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. But now, back to the show. The country is mad in so many ways, Nick, not just in our courts, but also because of the ECHR. I wanted to share with you the story, which you probably have seen from the Daily Telegraph. I mean, the headline, honestly, you would think this was April Fool's Day. Albanian criminals' deportation halted over son's distaste for chicken nuggets. No, this is a real story. The Daily Telegraph reports an Albanian criminal was allowed to stay in Britain partly because his son will not eat foreign chicken nuggets. An immigration tribunal ruled that it would be unduly harsh for the 10-year-old boy to be forced to move to Albania with his father owing to his sensitivity around food. And Nick, that was the sole example given to the court, but the judge decided to allow the father's appeal against discrimination as a breach of his right to family life under, you guessed it, the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights. Nuts.
Yeah, we're sending them home. We're sending them home in a first past the post system. in a secular liberal democracy, if you are not a majority in parliament, you're not writing the laws, you're not changing anything. I need 1 year in power, Dan. 1 year. For day one, you've seen what Trump's done, and you've seen the sanctions now Trump's put on Starmer. It's all possible for your viewers. It's all possible. We're just so downtrodden, we can't see the wood from the trees. We're sending them home. That's, again, that story. It's so outrageous and egregious. It's time to start converting that outrage and into the understanding that brings about the action, which is, if you're not backing a political war machine, a political party in Britain, and that party then returns a majority, unless that dynamic occurs, you're going to be outraged. And you've got your think tanks, and you've got your lobby groups, and you've got your street movements and your culture movements, and they play such an important, blessed, wonderful role in for so many different reasons. But unless you're backing a political party and that party wins, you are not going to end the madness like what you just described there. UKIP government, that individual would be detained and deported. And not only that, but there would have to be an agreement with the government, the country that the individual's going to, that he was never allowed anywhere near his children ever again. There's two different points to this story here.
And I mean, this madness, Nick, takes place every single day. There are thousands of these decisions made. But how do you unpick, Nick, a system? I mean, I call it the civil service. Other people call it the deep state. I genuinely believe now these people are working against us. They hate us. And it's a really serious charge, but it's true. They work for globalist organizations, and they intend to effectively end the United Kingdom as a sovereign state. So how do you unpick that? I mean, is it necessary, for example, to fire every civil servant and say they will all be politically appointed, for example, more of an American system?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm happy to talk through the breakdown. I just want to add something.
Please.
You mentioned something very important, Dan. There are for people like you and I, we know about these stories, these outrageous stories where the individual isn't deported. There was another story when I said that the father shouldn't be allowed near his children again. There's another story. A Pakistani man has been found guilty of paedophilia. It's an incredibly egregious story, and he's not being deported because the judge doesn't think that his children should be apart. They shouldn't be apart from the father. So that's what I meant on the last bit. Certainly with the Albanian criminal deported, family deported, but also in the case of the other story, which you may or may not come on to cover, just to clarify. In terms of the breakdown and what this looks like, let me once again reference Trump. So in one breath, the British public says there's nothing we can do. It's game over. We feel absolutely awful, forever, permanent. We're destitute. In the next breath, oh, look at what Trump's doing. Look at what various different governments do. When we like what we hear, and we like what people are seeing and our governors and our elected officials are doing, it's possible. So which one is it? The answer is it's possible. Now, is there a supranational, tyrannical, globalist, communist-inspired globalist agenda? Yes, there is. That takes 5 seconds to tell. It's very true. Can we do anything about it? Absolutely, we can. You mentioned the civil service. It's not just the civil service. There is a list. If you do the org chart, FBI style, you've got the Synod, which is your Church of England, which is canon law, which controls the rules and regs, even in the Catholic Church in the United Kingdom. You've also got the Home Office. You've also got the Department for Education. You've also got the Civil Service. You've also got, and the list goes on and on and on. Once an executive is in place in a prime ministerial first past the post system, you and your cabinet have an enormous amount of power to start handing out the executive orders, which we see Trump doing in the US. It doesn't matter that they've got a presidential system. We have the power to do that. So let me reassure your audience, the power is there to do that. Then item 2 is that, of course, we're not taking any prisoners, which is the last bit of your question. You know, what do you do? Do you start firing people? Absolutely. It's going to be a hands-on deck call to action when we are in government to not only remove these people, but also have them on trial. All of those medical professionals involved in prescribing puberty blockers to under 18-year-olds, all those ministers and police, detectives, mayors, councillors who are involved in covering up the grooming gangs. So let me be very clear to you in the audience. It's not just, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Can you do it? Yes, you can. How do you do it? With the iron fist. And then lastly, it's justice to the British people and reparations in the case of the rape genocide of native white girls by paedophile Pakistani grooming gang mafias. It's really important to get that point across. Of course it can be done.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.